Who would like to begin? Call the meeting to order. Staff, will you conduct a roll call to establish that we have a quorum present?
Yes.
Thank you.
Commissioner Echols,
Present.
Commissioner Stewart,
Present.
Commissioner Smith,
Present.
Commissioner Devers,
Present.
Commissioner James,
Present.
Commissioner Parker.
Present.
We have a quorum. Thank you.
Thank you. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Commissioners, I will now entertain a motion to approve the meeting agenda for this evening.
Commissioner James, I motion that we approve tonight's meeting agenda.
Commissioner Smith, second the motion.
I now have a motion and a second, so I will call the vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those in opposition signify by saying nay. The motion carries. Commissioners, I trust that you have reviewed the meeting minutes. If there are no questions or discussions, I will now entertain a motion to approve the regular minutes.
Commissioner James, I motion that we approve the minutes from the January 10th meeting.
Commissioner
Parker.
Second. I'm sorry. I now have a motion and a second, so I will call the vote. All those in favor of the motion as stated, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those in opposition signify by saying nay. The motion carries. I will now open the period for public comments. Please reserve your comments related to a specific agenda item when I call for comments on this item. Comments to the Planning and Zoning Commission should be limited to no more than 2 minutes. Groups wishing to address an issue should elect 1 or 2 spokespersons. The time allowed for all issues shall not exceed a total of 15 minutes. Issues raised at this time are generally referred to the Director of Planning and Zoning for review. Responses will be provided at a later date. Staff, I will now ask you to present the staff analysis.
Good evening, everyone. I hope everyone is well. I'm going to get straight to it. We have several requests tonight. The first request is to review the primary variance for the reduction of the 100-foot landscape buffer at 7995 Sonoya Road. This is located behind the Cracker Barrel Old Country Store and Quick Trip, next to the Compass Self-Storage, and in front of Peachtree Landing Apartments. The site is currently zoned C2 General Commercial and is located in the Highway 74 Overlay District. The site is approximately 4.2 acres. This is what the site looks like today. They have included an accurate, up-to-date, and certified survey for our review. The applicant is proposing to develop a 5-story, 66,339 square foot hotel. The applicant is proposing to reduce the landscape buffer on their site from 100 feet to 0 feet. The proposed development would cause for the complete removal of the 100-foot landscape buffer that is required of all retail and commercial services developments that adjoin property that is either developed as residential or planned as residential. There are some considerations that we have to take into account when reviewing this request. The purpose and intent of the Highway 74 Overlay District site development standards are to establish and maintain quality areas that will preserve the investments of all landowners and developers, as well as encourage both commercial and residential development within the city. The Compass Self-Storage and Big Dan's Car Wash, which are neighboring businesses, both were granted variances for the 100-foot landscape buffer. Therefore, if relief is granted, the proposed development would be in harmony with the pre-existing development. This condition has been satisfied. This property does not have any extraordinary and exceptional conditions because of its size, shape, or topography that will create an unnecessary hardship for the owner while causing no detriment to the public. This condition has not been satisfied. If the Planning and Zoning Commission approves the variance request, staff recommends the following conditions. Number one, a 10-foot fence with the same architectural details as the principal structure be erected on the western side of the parcel, made from the same materials as the principal structure. Number two, light shields shall be erected on all outdoor lighting to not intrude onto the neighboring parcel to the west. Number three, additional foliage shall be provided along the western side of the parcel that would be the best at deterring any light pollution and interparcel traffic between this parcel and the neighboring parcel to the west. The final condition is that any significant modifications as determined by staff to the proposed site plan in regard to the 100-foot landscape buffer reduction would necessitate a further review by the Planning and Zoning Commission. I conclude. Thank you.
Thank you. I will now entertain questions for staff regarding the request.
I have a question, Madam Chair.
Yes.
Commissioner James?
If there is no hardship posed on the applicant, what's the reason for requesting the variance?
The applicant can speak more towards the reason why the variance request was sent in.
Okay. Okay, that will be my first question for the applicant.
Yeah, no, same thing.
Commissioners, are there any more questions?
For staff.
Okay.
Thank you.
Applicants, next presentation.
Excuse me, Chair, point of order. At this time, we need to open the public hearing, so we need a motion to open the public hearing and have those speaking in favor and in objection to the application.
Okay. Thank you. I will now entertain a motion and a second to open the public meeting, period.
Commissioner Stewart, I motion that we open up the public hearing.
I now,
Commissioner Smith seconded.
Commissioner Stewart, Commissioner Smith, I now have a motion and a second, so I will call the vote. All those in favor of opening the public meeting, period, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those in opposition signify by saying nay. The motion carries. I'll now hear from all those in favor of the application.
Evening, Board. My name is Darrell Baker, and I represent Absalon Hospitality Group. Now, Absalon, as you may know, owns several other hotels in Fairburn proper. They own the Holiday Inn Express, right almost next door to this. And then I believe they own one of the other hotels there along Highway 74. Good operator, based out of Hateville, Georgia. Actually, the owner, president of the company, lives just right down the road past Kirkley in Tyrone. You asked the question, I'll go ahead and answer it for you. Is there a hardship? There actually is a hardship here. So this parcel that's left over was part of a larger parcel. The larger parcel now encompasses QT, Cracker Barrel, the car wash, and the self-storage. And the 4 point whatever acres actually encompasses the master retention and pond for that site. That's why if you look at the balance of the plat that's before you tonight, the actual size of the lot is only a little over 2 acres. So if you were to take what's left and try to put something commercial on that site, which is what the intent of that site was always for, was a master development. Even when the apartments were being planned, this piece of property was always intended to be a master development for retail and mixed-use properties. So if you look at the hotel and you said, well, we're gonna have to have the 100-foot buffer, well, hotel would go away, because we worked, I don't know on how many renditions with Chancellor and staff to try to get the hotel, by the time you get it to fit room-wise and you get it to fit parking-wise and you get it to fit height-wise, that site, if you impose the 100-foot buffer on it, and you can't put the hotel there. The most you could put on what might be 70 rooms, and that'd be more of a boutique hotel, which is not going to go probably in that area on that lot. So there is a hardship from the site itself, because you do have the pond on the site, and we do have a storm drain for the site that runs through the middle of the site, which we're actually going to have to relocate. The other is a little bit of a nuance too, and there's a precedence, I think, set already in Fairburn that might help you with this variance. The little bit of a nuance is you have the apartments behind. Most of the time, in most jurisdictions in the area, the multifamily zoning is a commercial zoning as opposed to a true residential zoning. I think if you look at some of the other jurisdictions, and that's not Fairburn. Fairburn has it, and it's a little bit different. But I would point you across the street, across Highway 74, to all the out parcels and the new apartments that are going up over there. From the back of the new out parcel, all the restaurants there is no 100-foot buffer between them and the multifamily apartments that are there. So there's somewhat a precedent that's already established in that area. I'm more than happy to answer any questions. The one thing I would throw out there too, the benefit of this hotel on this track is if you put simple retail on the track, or a simple retail use, the city of Fairburn will only gain sales tax and property tax. If you put a hotel on this site, you will get property tax, sales tax, and you will get hotel and motel tax, which is quite a bit. The last time if you stayed in a hotel, if you looked at what your hotel and motel tax is on most rooms, it's a fairly hefty sum of money. So any consideration you have, would be grateful for. Again, this is an existing operator in the city of Fairburn that's willing to make additional investment, and we appreciate your time.
Okay. Well, I have a question for you, sir.
Yes.
So you mentioned across 74, where the other apartments are coming up. There is a street that divides from those apartments to where the businesses are. Is there, what's between your proposed site and the apartments behind it?
There is about a 50-foot wooded buffer. Now, this time of the year, and I believe there's some pictures in your packet, and then I added some additional ones. This time of the year, you can scantily see through that 40 or 50-foot of buffer. Mm-hmm. In the spring and summer, when the foliage is out, you can't even see the site. And if you think about it a little bit, really the concern for the setback of the buffer, a hotel doesn't really generate noise. So what's going to be the issue for you is light. And we can mitigate the light, because if you've noticed, if you've ever seen a hotel at night, most of the accent lighting shines up and down just to illuminate the faces of the hotel. The rooms, normally when they go to bed at night, they close the curtains, or when they're in their room at night, they close the curtains, so you don't see that. The site lighting would be your issue. And the site lighting we can mitigate through the use of cutoff shields, which is one of the conditions here, and we're agreeable to the conditions that are set forth. Because what they'll do is they'll put shields on those lights, and it forces the light straight down. And it mitigates against any light transfer across the property lines. We have talked to staff also. We are more than happy. We haven't been able to yet. We haven't been able to get a contact yet or have a return phone call yet. We're more than happy to contact the apartment complex and work with staff on this. If the apartment complex is agreeable, we're more than happy to increase the buffer on their land. We just don't have the room on our land, but we're more than happy to go and plant a double row of arborvitae or green giants or some type of cypress evergreen that grows to 40, 50, 60 foot tall. We're more than happy to do that also.
Okay, that's a good suggestion. I was thinking that as well. Does the back of your hotel, where's the parking? Is it
Parking-
adjacent to the apartment?
Parking is per the overlay, so I think it has to be, as you drive in, it's on the front and the front side.
Okay.
Now, I do think it's got some parking sprinkled around it, but for the most part, their site plan, well, I guess you're going to look at the site plan depending on what you do with the variance. The site plan should be in there.
Yeah, could we put that up? Okay.
I mean, there's parking all around it, but the primary parking field is in the front and both sides.
Okay, so the majority is front and sides.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Which is into the pond, into the access road, and into the storage area.
Okay.
There are spaces, though, in the back, but if we put up a 10-foot wall, you're not going to be able to, that's going to block that out.
Okay, so there will be a wall in addition?
We are agreeable to an opaque wall. Yes,
Okay.
we are.
Okay, 10-foot wall and cypress or something that would grow up to 40 feet?
Yeah, as long as we can fit that in, or the apartments will allow us to put it on their property, we're more than happy to add some evergreen to it.
And that would be my thought. It would be something that would be evergreen and not foliage would fall off in the fall and winter, correct? Those are my questions.
Commissioner Smith, I have a question. So my understanding, you said a 50-foot buffer from the apartments to the site that you guys are trying to put the apartments up. So I'm looking at, you got the people in the apartments, you got patrons that's gonna be renting at the hotel. So, and with that, just, small of a gap, you would have to put something up there, a fence or wall or something. It just wouldn't work out for the patrons, and you guys will be putting yourself at jeopardy as far as getting a lot of patrons, and they know they're right in the back of some apartments.
Yes, sir, and we're agreeable to the 10-foot wall
Okay. It's
separation.
the only issue I have with that being that close. Okay?
We're definitely agreeable to the conditions set forth by staff.
All right, thank you.
Madam Director?
Yes, the public hearing is still open, so just wanted to remind everybody about that. In case there was for opposition to speak as well.
Thank you. Is there anyone else speaking in favor of the application? Now we'll hear from all of those in opposition of the application. Now, thank you. I will now entertain a motion and a second to close the public comment period.
Okay.
You want to close it?
Need a
Go
motion?
ahead.
All right, Commissioner James, I motion that we, under conditions, approve the application to reduce the,
Close.
oh, I'm so sorry,
I need a motion.
Commissioner James, I motion that we close the,
Commissioner Smith, second.
I now have a motion and a second, so I will call the vote. All those in favor of closing the public comment period, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those in opposition by saying nay. The motion carries. Commissioner, now is your time to ask question of staff, the applicant, and the members of the public.
We did provide a presentation, so if there are no additional questions and you want to continue with the motion.
I have a question for staff. Can you please, one more time, put the conditions up that you suggested?
If there are no additional questions or discussions, I will now call this item to a vote. Commissioners make a motion in a second.
Commissioner James, I motion that we move forward with agenda item, do you need me to read the full? Parcel ID 09F070002700973 to reduce the landscape buffer from 100 feet to 0 feet based on the recommendations put forth by staff and any others that staff feels necessary.
Commissioner Stewart, I second the motion.
I now have a motion and a second, so I will call the vote. All those in favor of the motion as stated, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those in opposition signify by saying nay. The motion carries. Our next item is new business.
Next up is the subdivision plat for the new at-home hotel located at 7995 Sonoya Road. The applicant is proposing a subdivision of the site into two sites, Track 1 and Track 2. Track 1 is 2.13 acres and will be developed as a hotel. Track 2 is 2.07 acres and will remain as a stormwater facility. The subdivision plat includes buffer easements, utilities, and other required infrastructure. The subdivision plat also meets the setback requirements of the Highway 74 overlay district. Staff recommends approval of the subdivision plat with the condition that any significant modifications as determined by staff to the approved subdivision plat would necessitate a further review by the Planning and Zoning Commission. Thank you. I conclude.
Thank you. I will now entertain questions for staff regarding the request.
Questions?
Questions? No questions. Commissioner, now is your time to ask questions of the applicant.
I think he already explained the vision of the plat, so I think we're all clear.
If there are no additional questions or discussions, I will now call this item to a vote to approve or deny the plat. Commissioners, make a motion in a second.
Okay, Commissioner James, I motion that we approve parcel ID request 09F070000270973, which is a request to review subdivision of the plat. I move that we go forward.
Commissioner Stewart, I second the motion.
It's been moved by Commissioner James, second by Commissioner Stewart. All those in favor of the motion as stated, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those in opposition signify by saying nay. The motion carries. Staff, I will now ask you to present the staff analysis and recommendations. Concept plan.
The final request regarding the at-home hotel is to review the concept plan. The concept plan meets the setback and parking requirements of the zoning district C2 and the Highway 74 overlay district design standards. The concept plan includes all buildings and structures, driveways, parking facilities, walkways, landscaping, buffer easements, utilities, and other required infrastructure. The site will have ingress and egress along an unnamed side street of Sonoya Road. The building will consist of various earth tones of masonry and gray masonry with black and gray metal accents. The north elevation will have numerous oversized windows, a single entry metal door, and 2 single entry glass doors. The west elevation will have 5 oversized windows and a single entry metal door. The east elevation will have numerous oversized windows, a single entry metal door, and a canopy. The south elevation will have 7 oversized windows, a double entry glass sliding door, and a canopy. Staff recommends approval of the concept plan with the condition that any significant modifications as determined by staff to the approved concept plan would necessitate a further review by the Planning and Zoning Commission. Thank you. I conclude.
Thank you.
This one is different.
I will now entertain questions for staff regarding the request.
I do have one question for staff.
Yes, ma'am.
This may be for the applicant again. Does the hotel face Highway 74? And the back of it is facing the apartments? I just want to make sure I'm clear.
So he can confirm, the applicant can, but as far as I know, we can go back to the elevations. So the entryway will be facing Highway 74, and it will be behind the Quick Trip gas station. And the back of the hotel development will be facing Peachtree Landing Apartments.
Okay. Okay.
Are there any questions?
Commissioner Parker has one question.
Yes,
Where would the trash be?
the trash. The applicant will answer that question. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioners, now is your time to ask questions to the applicant.
I can clarify that question if you would like on the trash. If you look at the site plan, if you'll look, see right back there in the back corner, adjacent to the very back corner, adjacent to the storage, self-storage, it basically head in facing the self-storage, but it's right there in that back corner.
Back left corner, okay.
And that will be tucked behind that, that wall.
10-foot wall.
Wall that we're doing. And then you asked the question, so if you go back to Chancellor, the elevations. So the bottom, this is actually, when you come in, you're looking at this elevation right here. And that's per the overlay requirement that the doors have to face the road. This elevation and the elevation on the other slide will actually be facing the retention pond and the self-storage. And then can you flip to the other elevation? And this is important to note, this is the elevation that faces the apartments.
Good.
So you can see basically the hallways are what faces,
Okay.
and it's only that amount of windows, one step on each floor,
Perfect.
which will cut down on that light transfer loss.
Thank you very much.
Are there any additional questions or discussions?
Commissioner Smith has a question. You just talked about the trash where it's gonna be at, and then you talked about the self-storage. It's not too far from there. You're gonna have to put some kind of barrier up because you're gonna have a mess when people trying to dump trash. People trying to dump trash. I mean, you're talking about a storage, and you're talking about trash in the same area, and just from my experience with that, you know, when somebody sees something, opportunity to dump something out somewhere, they're gonna dump it out. So we definitely would have to have some kind of barrier or wall or something to separate that.
Yes, sir, I think we do. Can you show those pictures that I sent over? So the self-storage actually has tall fence between us and them. It was the ones I sent over to you.
We didn't get that.
Oh, okay, sorry. So if you look at the self-storage, it has probably an 8-foot decorative fence that is a true barrier between their site and our site.
Okay.
And then the dumpster enclosure itself,
Mike,
sorry, I'm
speaking
so sorry.
into the mic.
You even said something to them about that. The dumpster enclosure itself will sit in a brick enclosure, a masonry enclosure like one that, it basically encapsulates the whole, encapsulate the entire dumpster itself.
Yes, sir.
So, and then the wall actually, the wall between us and the neighbor, the multifamily, will have the 10-foot wall that will run off the corner, back corner of the self-storage through our site. And if you go over and look at the existing site conditions, the self-storage sits up significantly higher than our site. It almost is like it's built on a raised site that's got a wall around it. And then they have their decorative fence that separates us between them.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Any more questions? Nope.
I will now call this item to a vote to approve or deny the plan. Commissioners, make a motion in a second.
Okay, I'll go for it. Commissioner James again, I motion that we approve parcel ID, sorry guys, 1 sec. Parcel ID 09F070000270973, which is a request to review the conceptual site plan. Vote we approve.
Commissioner Smith, second.
I now have a motion and a second, so I will call the vote. All those in favor of the motion as stated, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those in opposition signify by saying nay. The motion carries. Staff, I will now ask you to present the staff analysis and recommendations for the plat, the new Chick-fil-A.
The final two requests tonight are for the one and only Chick-fil-A. They have submitted a subdivision plat and concept plan for review tonight. The subdivision plat is first. The new Chick-fil-A will be located at 0, tentatively 8032 Sonoya Road, between the Fairburn Commons Shopping Center and the Fairburn Park and Ride. The site is currently zoned C2, which is general commercial, and is located in the Georgia Highway 74 Overlay District. The site is approximately 2.63 acres. Here's what the property looks like today. They have included an accurate, up-to-date, and certified survey. The applicant is proposing a subdivision of the site into two sites, Track 1 and Track 2. Track 1 is 14.02 acres and will remain as is. Track 2 is 2.63 acres and will be developed into a drive-through restaurant. The subdivision plat meets the setback requirements of the Highway 74 Overlay District. The subdivision also includes buffer easements, utilities, and other required infrastructure. Staff recommends approval of the subdivision plat with the condition that any significant modifications as determined by staff to the approved subdivision plat would necessitate a further review by the Planning and Zoning Commission. Thank you again.
Thank you, Chancellor.
Thank you.
I will now entertain questions for staff regarding the request.
I have a question, Madam Commissioner.
Commissioner James?
Is this site, it's on the same side of Sonoya Road as the Park and Ride, or is it across Highway 74?
Let's see.
I was a little confused when I read this.
So if we're traveling southward towards Tyrone, you will see the proposed Chick-fil-A over to the left side before you get to the Fairburn Park and Ride.
Okay.
Okay, so it's right next, okay.
Let's do it.
And they, Commissioner Stewart, and they are in fact gonna close the existing location
The applicant can.
and build a
answer that
new one.
question.
The
We'll be
applicant.
building a new one. As far as plans for the soon-to-be closing Chick-fil-A, the applicant would be able to answer those questions.
Are there any other questions, Commissioners, for staff? Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioners, now is your time to ask questions of the applicant. Please come forward.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Nathan Fuss. I'm here on behalf of Chick-fil-A. Happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Commissioner Stewart, once again, are you gonna be closing the existing location?
Yes, that is correct. Their plan is to close that existing location and relocate to this new location just south of the Moe's.
Okay.
So will the closing, in terms of time frame, is one location going to be closed while the other one is being built, or?
So the existing one will remain in operation until this one is open.
Got it.
Commissioner Smith, what's the time frame on it?
As soon as we can get permits, hopefully we can get approval here, work through the land development process in, late summer, early fall.
And from the pictures, it looks like it's going to be quite a bit bigger than the one that we already have. Is that the plan?
Correct, yep. It'll be a little bit bigger. The site is a little bit bigger as well, and we've redesigned the site to hopefully help traffic flow a little bit smoother through the site and avoid a lot of the backups that I know that existing store has.
Looks like outdoor seating was included.
Correct, yep. There'll be, I think right now we're showing about 4 outdoor tables, outdoor seating, outdoor patio space as well.
Commissioner Stewart, would you consider this location bigger or about the same size as the one in Peachtree City?
I believe it's a little bit bigger, but
A bit bigger?
yeah, I don't quote me on that, but I believe it's a little bit bigger.
You know, right there across from Outback Steakhouse.
Yeah, yep. This one will be the newer design, and I will say that there's a requirement of the overlay district for this specific site that any new fast food restaurants have to be over 50% of the site area has to be dedicated to dining only. So this site, because of that, we had to modify the footprint a little bit, so the building's a little bit bigger than you'd see on a typical store, a typical proto.
Will the design be similar to the one that was recently built in Noonan?
I'm not sure.
Oh, okay.
I wasn't the.
Oh, I'm not speaking into it.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay. Are there any additional questions or discussions for the applicant?
Commissioner Parker, just have one question. How will you enter the restaurant? From 74 or?
Yep, so you'll enter from 74 onto Renaissance, and then we're proposing one connection with a deceleration lane and a dedicated right turn lane from Renaissance to our site. We don't have direct access to Sonoya Road. It'll just be through Renaissance there on that road.
Okay. We'll now call this item to a vote to approve or deny the plat. Commissioners, make a motion and a second.
Commissioner Smith, I make a motion to approve plat 09 F0201 00121 238.
Commissioner James, a second.
Commissioner Echols? Okay. All right. All those in favor of the motion as stated, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those in opposition signify by saying nay. The motion carries. Staff, concept plan for the new Chick-fil-A?
Finally, we have the concept plan for Chick-fil-A. The applicant is proposing a new 6,240 square foot building The concept plan meets the setback and parking requirements of the zoning district C2 and as well as the Highway 74 overlay district. It also meets the Highway 74 overlay district design standards. The concept plan includes all buildings and structures, driveways, parking facilities, walkways, landscaping, buffer easements, utilities, and other required infrastructure. The site will have ingress and egress along Renaissance Parkway. As you can see, the building will consist of various earth tones of masonry with black metal accents and a flat roof. The north elevation will have 3 single entry glass doors and a double entry glass door, all covered by canopies, 4 oversized windows and 3 clerestory windows. The west elevation will have a single entry metal door. The south elevation will have 4 oversized windows, a single entry glass door, a drive-through sliding door, a clerestory window, and a double lane, drive-through canopy, and 4 downspouts for stormwater purposes. The east elevation will have 3 oversized windows and a single entry glass door. They have included a tentative floor plan as well for your review. Staff recommends approval of the concept plan with the condition that any significant modifications as determined by staff to the approved concept plan would necessitate a further review by the Planning and Zoning Commission. Thank you again.
Thank you, Chancellor.
Thank you.
I will now entertain questions for staff regarding the request. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioners, now it's your time to ask questions of the applicant.
Hello?
Commissioners, proceed with your questions.
I don't have it.
Thank you.
I just have one. Y'all gotta do something better on that military discount. You only give it on Veterans Day, and that's a chicken sandwich now.
Commissioner
Hello?
Stewart.
Point of order.
Irene.
Commissioner Stewart.
Commissioner Street,
order.
I'll let them know that.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
We apologize.
You know why you apologize? I'm serious. Just teasing with you.
If there are no additional questions or discussions, I will now call the item to a vote to approve or deny the plan. Commissioners, make a motion in a second, please.
Commissioner James, I vote to approve parcel ID 09F0201201212238.
Commissioner Stewart, I second the motion.
It has so been motioned in second. All those in favor of the motion as stated, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those in opposition signify by saying nay. The motion carries. Staff, I will now ask you to present the staff analysis and recommendation for the text amendment discussion. Data center.
Good afternoon, everyone. Staff received a request to begin researching data centers. In the southern region, like the Midwest and other areas, we have become sort of a boom for them. There has been a significant amount of interest, so we began to really look at what is the definition of a data center, and looking at other local governments, contacting various municipalities, speaking with representatives who have actually constructed data centers, and listening to sort of residents in other areas who have kind of lived by them. So it's really a balancing act. We have the definition, which is we're proposing a building, a structure, a complex, or a group of buildings, structures, or facilities dedicated to space that houses IT infrastructure. Also, all of the associated equipment like handlers, water cooling, storage facilities, utility substations, and other associated infrastructure. After sort of getting a very high-level, broad definition, began the process of really looking at the intake process for any type of application. Looking at the applications in various other areas, we noticed that one of the common things was making sure that there was a inclusion of a required neighborhood meeting. Also, making sure that the applicant provided information on the owner. The narrative would include what are the anticipated facility needs. Of course, you can't give accurate information without having the actual plans, but you can provide sort of an estimate so that you can understand what is the capacity and infrastructure in the surrounding areas. One of the other items that we think is really important is really understanding sort of the capability and commitments for the utility companies that would be providing that service. Of course, Fairburn has various utility companies in the area, so we want to make sure that some sort of letter is provided as a part of that application. A narrative kind of describing what the facility processing capacity will be. There are various different types of data centers. Some are very large, some are a little bit smaller, and you wouldn't even know. Because of how broad the industry is, we wanted to make sure that that definition was broad, but in terms of the application material and what's required being presented to both Planning and Zoning Commission and ultimately City Council for decision, that all of that would be included. Also, one of the key things that we've discovered from speaking to areas where they are in close proximity to residential is making sure that there's a sound mitigation study that establishes what are the sound levels before it's built, and then potentially, you know, before a CO is issued, what does that look like? And having that report is really important. And because they are sometimes very large warehouses, we want to make sure that the elevations are keeping in character with the surrounding areas and the standards that have already been established. So we started with looking at the application intake and then went on to actually looking at the supplemental regulations in terms of building height, light restrictions. One of the things that we got in terms of feedback was because they don't typically have a lot of employees, they don't need the parking requirements you would typically see with a warehouse. So we included that, added some standards for building facade, looked at fencing. One of the biggest key areas that I heard from speaking with folks in Arizona, Virginia, was that making sure that the cooling equipment, which can sometimes be very large, and in some instances we've heard stories of them being very loud, that they are enclosed. And just making sure that there's visual screening for those HVAC systems as well. So we are proposing building elevation standards, parking requirements, building facade requirements, fencing, and also, as a part of it, a separation from sensitive properties. We're proposing that data centers be considered as in the heavy industrial and light industrial areas with a use permit because of how the land use patterns are in the city. There aren't areas where there is a buffer in certain instances from a residential area to a heavy industrial. Some of them kind of are right next to each other, so we want to make sure that they're focused really on the heavy industrial areas where we do have quite a concentration and some available land. One of the other issues is that we heard from a lot of local governments about sort of noise testing and making sure that that requirement is there. And then as a part of the periodic backup generators testing, that there is some sort of required notification in your zoning ordinance that says, outside of emergency areas, that these are the limited hours for testing. So this is the first draft. We wanted to present that to the Planning and Zoning Commission to get some feedback, get your thoughts, and that's what we have.
Okay. Thank you.
Very clear, precise.
What kind of vehicle traffic was?
One moment, please.
Oh, I apologize.
One moment. Thank you. Okay, thank you very much. I will now entertain questions for staff regarding the request. Staff.
Commissioner Echols, what kind of vehicle traffic would be in and out of that facility?
Typically, they don't have a lot of vehicle traffic. From what I've heard from other local governments, there's not a lot of traffic associated with them.
Okay. There's a data center down in, is it Noonan, I think? Is it like that?
Well, we don't have typically there are some in, I believe, Alpharetta. They have quite a few, and they have supplemental regulations for them. So a lot of our key points were from sort of talking to Alpharetta and their experience of being able to have them in the city and have them, have very little complaints from residents or business owners and everything balancing out. One of the things we took away was that data centers in Alpharetta are not allowed to be located within 100 feet of a collector or local road, just to kind of balance that out. But I believe there's one that has been constructed in Fayetteville, quite a few in Alpharetta. I believe there's one in also Douglasville.
I do have a comment. I don't have a question, but I have a comment. And as usual, this is an amazing job that you've done here. Very detailed. You've thought of everything. And I really do appreciate all of the research and information gathering that you do, because everything you put forth, both of you, is spot on and very, very detailed. So appreciate that. I have no questions at all.
Commissioners, are there any other questions?
Commissioner Parker, I'd just like to ask, how many jobs would this data center bring to Fairburn?
We don't currently have an application in hand. It varies. The applicant would be presenting a concept if anybody, and we have had quite a few that are interested, which is why we started the process of researching data centers. Typically, it varies. Some bring a lot of jobs, some bring very little. One of the things is they are very, very strong economic revenue generators because of but that's one of the sort of pros to having data centers in the areas. But it's really about balancing it all out. So it varies, and that's a question as a part of the use permit application that you could consider.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioners, are there any other questions from staff?
No.
Okay, thank you. I will now call the item to a vote. Recommend approval or denial of the text amendment. Commissioners, make a motion and second, please.
Commissioner James, I recommend that we approve the data center text amendment.
A second.
Commissioner Smith, second.
Has been motioned by Commissioner James and second by Commissioner Smith. So I'll call the item to a vote. All those in favor of the motion as stated, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those in opposition signify by saying nay. Motion carries. Staff report.
We are working on looking at some technology in terms of iPads, so if everyone could see me after the meeting, we can discuss that a little bit more. We will continue to look at different training opportunities and send that out. If you guys see any that you are in particularly interested in, please send that information over so that we can go ahead and get those scheduled. So that is available. And there are options for both training at facilities, and then there are some online training that's available. We can send that information out to you probably in March. We will also host a in-house training as well. So, wonderful.
Thank you. Commissioners' comments. We'll start with you, Commissioner Eccles.
No comment.
Commissioner Stewart,
No comments.
Commissioner Smith.
I'm going to start by saying I want to thank our great staff for all the information they give us. I want to thank our great mayor for stopping by and visiting us tonight. That's all.
Ditto on behalf of what Commissioner Smith has already said. Great job, guys. You all really put in a lot of hard work. I know at first we were talking about not getting the packets on time, but I see how much time and detail that goes into these packets. And believe me, it does not go unnoticed. It does not. Again, thank you, Mayor, for the opportunity to come in and see what a great job the commissioners are doing in planning and zoning and how hard we're working for the city of Fairburn. So next, we'll have comments from Commissioner James.
Okay, sure. And again, I echo, thank you to our staff, thank you to our attorney. We never thank her either, Attorney Ross. And I just want to say that, again, I am really excited about what's happening here in Fairburn. So many great businesses are coming, and it's great to be a part of helping see things grow and come to fruition in the city. So thank you to everybody.
I would also like to thank everyone. Great presentations today, and I'm very excited about the Chick-fil-A that will relieve some traffic in that area that's very congested, and our citizens will be very happy about that.
All right. Commissioners, I will now entertain a motion to adjourn the public meeting.
Commissioner Smith, make a motion to adjourn.
Commissioner Parker, second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Smith and a second by Commissioner Parker. I now have a motion and a second, so I will call the vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposes, nay.
That's a good one.
1 hour, isn't it, Matt?